back to another episode of the Local Voices podcast. I am so happy to be back. I am so sorry that I had to delay this episode. We had the flu take us all out over here at the Watson household. So that was a rough week and a half or so. And I'm really glad that we're on the other side of that. But it was actually something that kind of worked out because I've been thinking about rearranging some things with the podcast, and now was a great time to do so. So instead of releasing my episodes on Fridays, I'm going to start releasing them on Mondays. We're still going to be following a bi-weekly schedule. But again, it'll just be coming to you on a Monday morning instead of a Friday morning. So this will be my first Monday release. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear this one because I'm going to be talking to Cheryl Wolfinger. She is the founder of the International Sports Federation Ministry, also known as ISF. So if you hear us referring to it as ISF, that you'll know what we mean, just a shortened version. But we are going to be talking about her organization and her personal story. She has a personal story of cancer back in the early 2000s. And then she's been on some incredible adventures. And she's just one of those ladies that you could just listen to all day long. Like, she's just fascinating. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear from her today. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Hey, Cheryl, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for doing this.
I'm excited to be here.
So for those listening, Cheryl has been a family friend for a very long time. My aunt and my mom now both work for her, and we're going to be talking about her organization, the International Sports Federation. And so yeah, if you want to kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the organization.
All right. Like you said, my name is Cheryl. I have been doing this for about 32 years, so I'm really old. But International Sports Federation, we started in 1993. Do you want me to just dive into how it started? Or?
Yeah. How did the whole thing come to be?
Okay. Well, I grew up in a tiny rural town in Oklahoma, Oktaha, Oklahoma, out in Indian country. And just grew up playing basketball and going to church like most kids in my community did. And was really, church was really important to me. And so I had the opportunity to play college basketball and got involved with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes when I went to college, and really realized kind of the platform that sports was. I found myself getting invited to speak at like sports banquets and stuff just because I was an athlete at a local college there, and realized this is kind of a good platform that people kind of want to hear what you have to say just because, you put on a collegiate basketball uniform. And so went through my college career, heavily involved in FCA, actually went on staff with them while I went to seminary right after college. And as I was going through that, began to realize that, sports still had a really strong pull. But then in 1993, had lunch with a missionary, and he kind of began to explain to me how it was even more so overseas, that American basketball or American athletes tended to have a tremendous platform. But he shared with me that it was really hard to find sports-related volunteers, that missionaries, especially if they've been on the field for 15 or 20 years, you can only invite your brother-in-law to come back with the softball team so many times and that kind of thing. And so he just kind of explained to me, Cheryl, we're kind of on a desert out here. It's really hard to get sports-related volunteers because people that are involved in sports are usually really busy. So, if their kid's playing travel ball or they're a coach, it's just really hard to get them. And he said, Cheryl, we really want to start an organization to help us find those volunteers. And I was like, good. I hope you find your guy to start that organization. And as we continued to have lunch, he said, well, Cheryl, what about you? And I was like, well, for one thing, I'm a girl. I'm a little country bumpkin from Oktaha, Oklahoma. I don't know about starting an organization. I don't even know how to board of directors and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm not your guy. And he said, well, will you just pray about it one night? And I was like, I guess. So I prayed that night, and sure enough, the next day was having my quiet time and just really did what all good FCA staff members do. And I was going through a little booklet and just opened up the booklet. And as luck would have it, that day, the scripture study was on the rich young ruler who went to Jesus and said, what do I need to do to enter the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus told him, go sell everything and follow me. And he couldn't because he was very rich, and he went away sad because he wasn't able to do the simple thing that Jesus asked him to do. And so I knew I didn't want to go away sad, and I knew that that was what I was supposed to do. And so I called the missionary back and said, okay, I'm in. I don't know what that looks like or what that means. And so that first summer we sent 3 teams, and then the next summer we sent 5, and then 9. And by the time we got to the Olympics in Sydney in 2000, we sent 300 volunteers, and have kind of never looked back. We've just continued to grow. We have 4 full-time staff members and 3 part-time, and just, we respond to requests from the field, because that was the whole story. Anytime we would interview a missionary from another country, they'd be like, I really need some baseball players, but I don't know any baseball players. And so we take their story and take it to like a college baseball team, especially at a Christian college, where the kids might be more interested in doing mission work. And so it's really kind of twofold also. It's not just about sharing the gospel. It's also kind of a cultural exchange, where the kids that we take get a good experience and learn a little bit more about being a better global citizen. And then the kids that we reach, on the field have this opportunity for Americans to come and, run their basketball camp, and they just get all excited and think all of our kids are as good as Michael Jordan, and, get all excited about it. So that's what we do, but that's kind of the day in, day out of it, that we respond to requests from the missionaries, and then we get the volunteers, help them raise their money, get tax receipt letters to all their donors, and then we buy the airline tickets and mobilize them. And then the missionaries get them at the airport, go do the mission work, and then send them back to us.
That's so cool. So, if I understand correctly, you'll sometimes partner with colleges, right? Isn't there like a university or something in Texas? You'll take their sports teams, or you'll facilitate it, right?
Yeah, East Texas Baptist University has a program called TAME, and it's Tigers on Mission. And they every 4 years they send each one of their sports teams. So I took I think 48 of their men's ice hockey team to Sweden for 10 days in December. We're taking your aunt Jackie is taking their cheer and tumbling and dance team to Northern Ireland for a couple of weeks. And so, we definitely, they've been a good partner. I took their women's basketball to Northern Ireland a couple of years ago. I've took their golf teams, men's and women's golf team, to Scotland, and we got to walk on the old course. We didn't get to play it because it was too close to the open, but they got to play on the Castle course and a couple of others there in the area, and be there where the home of golf is. So it's been a good experience, good partnership with them. But we're always obviously looking for anybody that's involved with a Christian university that would want to send their kids on mission. But we do handle entire teams, or just one volunteer, one coach, or whatever.
I think that's so cool. I would have loved to have done that in high school or college. I don't know. I just think that that's such a neat, I didn't do sports, but I'm just saying, I don't know, to give kids that experience. Yeah.
It's pretty life-changing for a lot of them. And I call them our grandkids of people that, went when they were younger, and God kind of used that in their life to pivot them towards a life of ministry, and really had some life change. Of course, we've also had couples that met on our trips. And so we have those kind of grandkids too.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. My mom was telling me a little bit about, I think there was a recent couple that met in New Zealand, right?
Yeah. He was from Argentina and had gone to college in Texas and was a soccer player. And the East Texas Baptist women's team went with us to New Zealand for the Women's World Cup of Soccer. And he was a soccer coach, had finished his time playing college soccer, and was coaching, and was like, I really want to do a mission trip. And he saw it was soccer, didn't realize it was going to be all women, and he was the only guy. And well, we had one of our staff guys was there, but so Valentin was there, and the assistant soccer coach at East Texas Baptist. They have been married for 4 months now.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
And she flew. I called her and I was like, "Hey, I noticed y'all talking now. I'm seeing things on Facebook. Do you need to talk to me about anything?" And she goes, "Well, full disclosure, I am flying over to spend some time with him at Christmas. So last Christmas she flew over, and so when she got back, I said, "Okay, I'm just checking in. Do you have a significant other or just a pen pal with really amazing eyes?"
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "More towards a significant other." So they just continued their long distance relationship and went back and forth, I think 3 or 4 times over the course of the year. And he asked her father for her hand in marriage, and they had a really beautiful wedding in Texas in December.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that. That's awesome.
It was definitely a fairy tale story.
Yeah. But your story, you have a personal story that kind of, I mean, obviously is going to kind of intermingle with ISF, but you actually had cancer. What'd you say, back in 2004?
Yeah. So, my MO was grab up a bunch of kids, throw them on an airplane and go. And God hit a giant pause button on me in 2004. I was traveling to Washington, D.C., speaking at a conference. And I was staying with my best friend from seminary and her husband. And I just noticed my shoulder was kind of swollen and my arm felt funny. But I thought I had just tweaked a muscle, lifting luggage or something. Didn't think anything of it. And lo and behold, I told them, I said, "Look, I'll just go to the doc in the box. I'm pretty sure I just need some prescription strength ibuprofen. I'll be fine. And y'all go on to church and, we'll connect afterwards." And her husband was like, "No, I think we're going to take you to the hospital." I was like, "Okay, I don't know." And so we go to the hospital, and sure enough, the doctor came right in. And they said, "It looks like you have a massive blood clot. And it shouldn't be there based on your age and activity level. So we're going to be looking today for a cancer called lymphoma." And that was how it all started. And so was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma in February of 2004, and went through the whole year of being bald and wonderful and all that. And just kind of did what you do. Everybody's like, "You were so brave." I was like, you really don't have a choice. You go to your next doctor's appointment, you go to the beauty salon and let them shave your head so that it doesn't look all weird and whatever. But yeah, so went through that, was sick for about a year, and then did the fat and happy thing for about a year, ate a lot of ice cream, a lot of Mexican food. I will say I'm pretty convinced, though, that ice cream does cure cancer, because here I am, and I ate ice cream almost every day throughout treatments and all that. But yeah, so it was definitely a setback for me physically. But I tell people, cancer really gave me, I think, a lot more than it took from me, because it just changed my perspective on so many things in life. And I don't get near as rattled about little things as I used to, because, it's not worth spending any energy on things you can't change. So.
Yeah. No, I can imagine something so life-altering just would completely change your perspective on everything. But yeah, so you actually just touched on it a second ago. When we talked last week, you had mentioned that you spent some time after you were finished with cancer treatments, and I'm assuming you're in full remission at this point, right?
Yeah.
Cancer-free.
Yeah.
And you had spent some time just kind of eating and not maybe taking your time getting back into things. But then Kilimanjaro came into the picture.
Yeah. So for about a year after cancer, I literally just ate what I wanted when I wanted. I'd get ice cream at midnight or whatever, didn't even think twice about it. And I woke up weighing about 270, and I thought, this is not who I want to be. And so a friend of mine had gotten a book, and it was 60 hikes within 60 miles of Atlanta. And she said, "Hey, we're going to start walking on Saturday mornings if you think you'd like to do that." So I was like, walking doesn't sound too hard. I can do that. So started walking, and then like you do when you're out with friends, hey, have any of y'all backpacked? And so one thing led to another, and kind of got into backpacking for a little bit and really enjoyed feeling stronger. Love the outdoors. I've always enjoyed, being in the woods. And so started hiking and got stronger and got more fit. And so we were coming up on the 20th anniversary of ISF, and it was my 10th anniversary after cancer. And I'd gone through kayaking and all other kinds of hobbies that were fun and outdoorsy. And so I was sitting at my desk, having my quiet time, and just looking at some scripture and just kind of praying about, how do we celebrate 20 years of ISF, and how am I going to celebrate 10 years of, victory over cancer, or cancer being in my rear view by 10 years, however you want to look at it. And so the verse that day was that he is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above anything we could think or imagine, because of he that is at work within you. And I thought, what's something that I can't even fathom? And part of my cancer journey, I had to have radiation treatments, and it was the cancer itself was a tumor about the size of a softball, just above my heart, but between my heart and my chest bone. So right in my chest cavity. And so they had to radiate that field. And so in the process of irradiating the cancer, they also irradiated my bronchial tubes. And so I lost about 30% of my lung function. So I can still breathe okay. My lungs just don't process the oxygen well anymore. And so I tell people, if you have asthma, it's like breathing through a coffee stirrer, but what I have is more like breathing through a McDonald's straw. So if I'm sitting and normal, you couldn't tell at all. But if I'm carrying a load uphill, I get winded really fast and can't finish my sentences, kind of thing. And so I couldn't imagine going to altitude and climbing a mountain. And so, full disclosure here, I Googled easy mountains to climb, and up popped Kilimanjaro.
What?
And so I thought, that's it. I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And so I walked across the hall to your Aunt Jackie's office and said, hey, I got an idea. I think I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro to celebrate the 20th anniversary of ISF. And she just was immediately shut me down. She's like, don't be ridiculous. You've already been hospitalized this year for your lung function. You cannot even be serious right now. No, you're not going to do this. And so I was like, well, I'm going to talk to my doctor and see what they say. And the next day she came to me and was like, okay, tell me more about it, or whatever, And so kind of told her all about it. And she was a little more open to listen to me. And so I did go to my doctors, went to my lung doctor and my oncologist and my primary care physician. And they all thought I, was smoking something. And they said, you can't be serious. And I was like, oh, I am serious. I am dead serious. And so they made me go to the Lung Institute in Colorado, where the lung specialist, this little nerdy guy with his glasses and his little white lab coat, made me go hike Pikes Peak with a pulse ox monitor and record all everything that he wrote down for me, and come back. And then they did all these tests. I mean, I sat in the chamber with the nose plugs and, all the breathing tests you can imagine. And so he comes into the room in his little squeaky chair, and he rolls it up to next to the bench that I'm sitting on. And he goes, well, Miss Wolfinger, I'd like to show you some things. And so he pulls out this like whiteboard, and he's got a marker, and he starts, well, the barometric pressure I've already called and checked at Mount Kilimanjaro is, and he's drawn out the barometric pressure and all this stuff. And so he gets to the end, and he just kind of pushes his glasses up and said, so statistically, there is a chance that you would survive at that altitude and be able to indeed hike Mount Kilimanjaro. And I was like, so you're saying there's a chance?
That's amazing.
And,
oh my gosh.
He said, I don't know, how your body will respond, but numerically, it is feasible to sustain life at 19,341 feet with your current capacity and your current physical fitness. And I was like, that's all I need to know. So you're saying I can, you're signing off that I can go. He said, I have no reason to believe that if you are careful and listen to your body and don't be silly, but yes, numerically, the numbers indicate you can sustain life at that altitude.
Oh my gosh.
He said, I don't know how good you're going to feel, but you can sustain life.
That is awesome. Wow.
Yeah, so, I came back with this resolve and, bought a mask that you could altitude train on the treadmill with, and, just started doing all the research on it and whatnot. And the funny thing was I went to my chiropractor and he's a great chiropractor for one thing, a great sports chiropractor. And he had donated his services to all of our staff. And he said, the only thing I request is don't ask me to go overseas. We're like, fine, Dr. Ken, no worries. No worries at all. And so I had gone to see him and he was like, hey, so what you got going on? I said, well, you're not going to believe this, but I think we're going to climb Kilimanjaro. And he was like, what? That's awesome. And then he called me the next day and he's like, hey, can we have lunch like today? And I was like, oh, yeah, is everything okay? Is Carrie going to be there? His wife is my best friend. And so I was like, is Carrie okay? Is everything okay? He goes, yeah. Everything's fine. She'll be there. Just come over. Just show up for lunch. I was like, okay. And he said, I just couldn't sleep last night. I think I'm supposed to take my son and climb Mount Kilimanjaro with you. And I was like, well, come on, Doc. And so I shared with another friend who's, I'm friends with both the husband and the wife, and the husband is a paramedic and a true adventurer and a highly decorated mountain or rock climber, like the rock climbing competitions at gyms. And so he had done that and just a great guy and loves ISF and what we do. And so I was going to ask her husband if he wanted to go because I thought, I need people that can actually carry me off the mountain if it goes bad. So talked to him and she was like, well, could I go? And I was like, you want to go? And so they signed on to go. And your grandfather had just passed away and your mom and brother were there at the house with Jackie. And you know how you do at funerals. Your mom or Jackie was just like, do y'all know what this crazy Cheryl's going to do? And kind of shared with him that I was going to climb Kilimanjaro. And she said, your mom snapped around and said, that's it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to climb Kilimanjaro with Cheryl. And they couldn't really believe it. They're like, are you serious?
If I can interject real quick, because I actually just talked to my mom about this the other day. She goes, yeah, your Aunt Jackie brought it up to me. And my mom was like, she thought about it and she's like, yeah, I think that would be good if all three of us, all the siblings, if we did this. And then so she agrees. And a little while later she goes, now where exactly is Kilimanjaro? What is that? She had no idea.
That's awesome. Yeah. I guess their dad had passed away from diabetic related complications. And, obviously we all have that genetic clock that's ticking on a lot of our ailments and things. And so your mom was just like, this is not going to be our legacy, guys. Let's do it. Let's go climb this mountain. And apparently she didn't know where it was or how high it was or what it was going to take. But if Cheryl's going to do it, surely it can't be that hard. It's probably what they were thinking. But yeah, so we ended up with 24 people to climb the mountain. So it was quite an endeavor. And the story goes, everybody's on board. We get to summit night. You start the summit trek at about midnight because they want you to get off the mountain before much past sunrise because of lightning hazards and things like that. And the wind usually kicks up more during the day. And so we're going to go on summit night. And I start out about 2 hours before everybody else. And I'm thinking, I'm just ready to be done with this. We've been backpacking for about 5 days. This was day 6, so we'd come down on day 7. So I was like, man, I'm exhausted. We've been hiking, 11, 12 miles a day. Just beat to pieces. Just my feet are blistered. Everything hurts. And you can't breathe. I mean, to put your boots on, and finally the last night I just laid down. When I got to my tent, I backed in, sat down, laid back and kept my boots, everything on. I didn't take any clothes off that night. For one thing, it was below zero. So, and it was freezing. I couldn't breathe. And so we get up to start that night, and they let me start a couple of hours before the team because I was so slow, just because of my breathing issues. I had to go super, super slow. And so at about 16,000 feet, actually one of my physicians, Dr. Mark McLaughlin from Kennestone, we had become friends through my oncologist, and he was on the trip with us. And so he said, let's check your pulse ox. And so, it was like 60 or so, but everybody else's was like 65 or 70. So I wasn't too far below them. And if I sat still, it would come back up to 70. So he's like, okay, let's keep going. And so got up to about, I guess, between 17 and 18,000 feet. And I could tell I wasn't doing maybe as well as I thought I was. I was kind of going crooked and just didn't feel right in my head, just with my thought process. But everything's so cloudy because you're so exhausted. And so he said, why don't we sit down for a minute and let's check your pulse ox again? And so we did, and it was 51.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, he was like, I don't even know what to do with this number. He said, at 88, we put you on supplemental oxygen. At 85, I'd put you in ICU. I mean, at 80, I'm pulling a sheet over you. So I don't know what to do at 51. And it wouldn't go back up over 54. And he said, I really, in good conscience, can't let you go on.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think you're right. I said, I think we're done. I said, I gave it all I could, and that's where we are. So fortunately, about that time, the rest of the team caught up with us. So I was able to, send them on the charge to going up the mountain. And so the rest of them went on up and summited. And it was a little disheartening to not be able to break the tape because, as an athlete, I mean, I'm going to crawl bloody across the finish line to say I finished, but to get turned around and be told I can't was just a whole new feeling for me. And I don't know, it's just really hard to kind of justify all of it in my mind that I've come so far. I'm 1,000 feet from the summit and I can't go on,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of tough on me. But yeah, that's our Kilimanjaro story. But it was, everybody had a really, really great experience. And that's probably more valuable than anything else we could have done.
Oh, I know that's like a core memory for my family, like my mom and my aunt, my uncle. But you had a redemption story because you did this bike ride.
Well, turns out Dr. Mark has some family history with bike ride across America. And so he's helping me carry my luggage. His brother had actually ridden it, and he served as one of the physicians for it. And so he's helping me carry my luggage in my house after Kilimanjaro. And he noticed my road bike was hanging on a rack in my entryway. And he said, oh, man, you know what you need to do? And I was like, laundry? What?
Yeah.
He's like, you need to ride your bike across America. You were a cyclist. You need to ride your bike across America. And I was like, my feet are still bloody from Mount Kilimanjaro. And you're, what? And he's like, that'd be really cool. Just to think about. And so we went, we go on with life like you do. And lo and behold, had dinner with another friend a couple weeks later. And her dad was contemplating riding across America. And I was like, well, now I'm interested. And so I was like, well, what does that look like? And so I started doing the research, and turns out you can just buy a set of maps and you can just ride across America, and they give you the routes where you can go around interstates and things like that. And so I knew I didn't want to come over the Rockies. So I did the southern route. So I came through Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. A third of the ride was through Texas, rode 1,000 miles in Texas. That was awesome. It was very hilly in Texas. You think it's not, but it is very hilly.
Mm.
So I dipped my back tire in Dog Beach in San Diego, California, and rode about 70 miles a day for 45 days, and put my front wheel in the water in St. Augustine, Florida. So it was quite a journey. I rode solo, but I had an RV that a couple of people switched out over the time because obviously it was a long, nobody could take that much time off work. So had people switch out to drive the RV to support me. And so we just, we'd have sandwiches and stuff, and we ate out a lot. But yeah, I just roll riding across America and just roll up to Dairy Queen and get a blizzard and eat it, then roll on.
That is the most Forrest Gump thing I've ever heard.
Well, people do it every year. There's a lot of people that have ridden across America, and people always ask me, how'd you do it? And I said, you just ride 1 mile at a time, and you ride 1 day at a time. Before I started though, I knew I had to set some parameters for myself because I just know how I am. And the parameter I set was that I would never call a 0 day until I rode 3 miles. If I rode 3 miles and still felt like I was hurting or needed to take a 0 day, I would, but I never did. And I rode all of that 3,100 miles, and I never once put my rain gear on. I mean, there were floods in front of me. There were thunderstorms behind me, but I never encountered 1 drop of rain.
Oh, wow.
And it was really, really cool how God just and I met some of the most incredible people. And, we took 0 days every Sunday. And so just wherever we rolled up, that's where we'd go to church. And I mean, people were like, here's the microphone, tell them what you're doing. And just, kind of got to share with a lot of people coming across. And on the way out to California, I scheduled several speaking engagements because, I knew on the way out I'd be excited, but I didn't know what I'd be like on the ride. So I was like, I'm not scheduling anything except surviving the ride.
Yeah.
You're coming through the desert in New Mexico is 108 degrees, and I'd get up at 4 a.m. and ride till about 9 o'clock, and then just get back in the RV till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then ride again, and then just do the whole thing over to get through the desert. Was crazy.
Wow. Okay, so that bike ride, you said they do it every year. Is it through like an organization?
Now there's organizations that have map sets, but you can ride in a supported ride for about $6,000 to $10,000. And they, set up, and it could be like 50 people riding, and they make sure you're coming through, supported. So you'd have mechanics, you'd have people have food ready for you when you stop for the day, and the course all set for you. And they would have leadership that would ride with you that, took you on the course kind of thing. But I just rode solo. I had a set of maps, and every night we'd get the map set out and figure out where I was going to try to make it the next day. And I had a GPS on my phone, so they could all follow my dot and see where I was on the road. And the RV could see exactly where I was, but I had, probably, I don't know, 300 or 400 people following, along the ride. And so they could see exactly where my dot was that day. And see that I did get up to 55 miles an hour coming down some of the hills coming out of the Gila National Forest.
Oh my gosh.
That was the tallest summit I had to ride over, was 8,000 foot peak. And when I came down the backside, it was like this straight shot down to Cabela, New Mexico. And I just locked it in and just flew down the mountain. It was so much fun.
Oh, that sounds fun and terrifying at the same time.
I know. When I think back now, I thought, man, if I would have hit a rock going 55 on that bike.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It might be a different conversation today.
Yeah. But it was really healing for me. My mom had actually just passed away right before I did it. This was in 2015. And so it was just a good time for me to think a lot about her life and her influence on me and her toughness. And when I'd want to quit, I'd be like, Doris wouldn't quit. She'd keep going if she set her mind to it. So I'd get back on the bike, just take a shower, wash my face, and get back on and go again.
I think that's something I really admire about you. I mean, I haven't heard these stories. I mean, I've heard the Kilimanjaro one, but you seem super driven, like, I don't know, real ambitious. And I don't know, where does that come from your mom? Like, where does that come from?
I really don't know. I'm just weird, I think.
No.
I don't do anything halfway. Like, I can't just take up a hobby. I have to find out a way to compete in that hobby. So like when I finished the bike ride, I got back and I was like, man, I am the fittest I've been in probably 30 years. My legs are strong. My back is strong, cause I mean, 3,000 miles on a bike, I had legs. I hadn't seen those muscles since 1983.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I lost 36 pounds and my legs were jacked.
Wow.
It was awesome. And so I thought, so I'd started going to CrossFit in, very adapted CrossFit class And so I'd started lifting weights and kind of enjoying that. And so one day, because if I can't compete, I don't want to do it. So like a 5K for a t-shirt had no appeal to me. Mm-hmm. And they can't see me, but I'm not a small woman. I'm 6 foot tall and beefy. And so I was like, I don't want to walk a 5K for a t-shirt to say I did something on a Saturday. And one of my friends was like, well, USA Track and Field has a master's program. And I'm like, I'm 50 years old. Where am I going to throw? And first of all, I don't even know if I can remember how to throw a shot put. I don't know. And they're like, no, there's a club. And so anyway, one thing led to another, and I started throwing the shot put, and I actually qualified and went to nationals. Actually ended up winning the national title at USA Track and Field shot put for that year. And I was like, I love this. And so came back and started working and, learned to throw the weight throw, which is an indoor event. It's like the hammer throw, but it's shorter handle and it's thrown indoors. Mm-hmm. And so I started throwing. And so I started throwing the shot put and then dusted off learning how to throw the disc again and throw the hammer. And so started competing USA Track and Field. And then a couple of years into that, some of my friends that I throw with are like, the Highland Games, you're built for the Highland Games. And I was like, okay, what's a Highland Game? And they're like, just come spend the night with us. We'll teach you everything you need to know. Well, it turns out being my size and strong is really advantageous for the Highland Games. So experienced early success in that as well. And so yeah, all in all, 10, I think at this point, 10 national titles in track and field and Highland Games. Later, I'm currently training for, hopefully the World Championships are going to be here in America this year. And so hoping to compete in the World Championships and the Highland Games in October. And then there's outdoor track and field national championships are in July. So we'll see how that goes. I got a new knee a year and a half ago, so we're still kind of figuring all that out. But as long as they can keep putting me back together, I'll keep competing. But I don't know why I'm this way. I don't know, because I didn't just, enjoy kayaking. I had to buy two and join a club and start with helping with river cleanup or whatever. I don't know. I just jump in with both feet, and it's just how I'm wired and who I am. And it irritates most of the people in my life a lot. My sister, I think, is pretty irritated by my craziness, but she's very conservative. She's an attorney and highly, highly driven attorney. And she just can't believe all the things that I do. But I've dragged my niece and nephew along for a lot of the journey. And I will say they're pretty happy with their history with me. My nephew actually, I got him involved in backpacking, and he actually climbed Kilimanjaro with me. And he ended up, after he graduated from Georgia State, he thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail 2 years ago. And now he's in law school and doing great.
Wait, how old was he when he did Kili?
14.
That puts me to shame. That puts me to shame.
Yeah, and my niece went on a medical mission trip with me to Kenya, and she's a doctor at Duke Medical Center now. So I'd say they did all right. So,
oh yeah.
One time they told me, they said, Aunt Cheryl, we've decided we want to be exactly half you and half mom. And I was like, oh yeah, why is that? And they're like, well, we love your life. We love your adventure. We love how enthusiastically you embrace everything. But we need money, because I've been in nonprofit my whole life. And they're like, yeah, we would love that journey, adventurous life, but we need money. So they want to be half like their mom and half like me. So middle of the road, make good money, but also be adventurous.
I mean, that's fair. I really hope that there is a book in the works for you. Are you writing a book? Would you write a book? I would totally read that.
Well, I wrote 6 foot tall and bald. My sister said it's more like a pamphlet than a book. It's only 90 pages. But basically, it's what I wish my friends knew about being my friend while somebody's going through cancer, kind of thing.
Oh, I didn't even know you did that. Wow.
Yeah, it's not a top 10 by any means, but it I enjoy, just because I have it in digital form. So I enjoy sending it to somebody's newly diagnosed. Hey, send this to your friends so they kind of can understand some things, because there's just a lot of awkwardness that happens when you're bald. and they don't know what to say to you. And they come to your house and they don't know what to do. And they don't understand that I would love it if you would just not ask and clean my kitchen, because don't make me say the words, will you help me? And if my lawn needs mowing, mow it. Next time I go to treatment, clean my room while I'm gone and do my sheets and flip my mattress and make my room smell fresh. I mean, that's what anybody wants, And so just covered kind of some of that stuff and what my journey was like and how I was diagnosed and my treatments and all that kind of stuff. Because, people just kind of, if they haven't had cancer in their family, they really don't even understand the difference between even radiation and chemo, or that there's more than one kind of chemo and, different things like that. But yeah, I think when I look at my life and when I have the opportunity to share with especially other women, is that, our body will continue to respond and get stronger if we push it until the day we die. Your mitochondria can reproduce and strengthen till the day you die, if you will push it, but when you sit down and you stop trying, weakness comes and you have to push back, because if you don't push back, you'll lose every time. So I just find things that sound like more fun than sitting on the couch and I go do them. So it's kind of simple, but it's how my mind works. I'm like, well, what would I rather do than be still? So let me find something fun. And I just keep finding fun things to do.
That's awesome. And so wrapping back around to ISF, the Kili hike and your bike ride, they were both ISF fundraisers, weren't they?
Yeah, we raised about $60,000 with the Kilimanjaro climb and then about another $40,000 on the bike ride. Okay. So they were very successful fundraisers. And we keep trying to think what we can do. There's talk of possibly water rafting the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. And your Aunt Jackie's already said she's out on that one. She doesn't swim. So
what? She could do it.
She could have a life jacket. If 8-year-olds can do it, she could do it.
I think that's what gets me. When you said your nephew was 14 climbing Kili, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing here?
Dr. Ken's son, Wes, who's now highly decorated Marine, and Thomas were both 14. Wes might have been 15.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, but Thomas wasn't driving yet.
Well, 14. I mean, to put that in perspective in my own life, that's my daughter. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, when he said he wanted to do it, I was like, oh, buddy, it's when you get on this mountain, you're committed. And he got so sick on day 2, he got a sinus infection, and that altitude plus a sinus infection was just killing him. And fortunately, we had Dr. Mark with us, and he had some steroids, and so he was able to get him some relief pretty quick, and decongestant and some steroids, and got him over the mountain. But he summited.
That's awesome. So for anybody that wanted to get involved with ISF, what are some ways that they could do that or wanted to learn more?
Yeah, the best way is to go to our website, sportsmissions.com. Super easy to remember. An S on both, sportsmissions.com. And that'll just give you kind of a rundown of all of our projects. We do have a couple of domestic opportunities. I think the domestic opportunities are all full. We still really do need some people for what we call Summer Madness in Northern Ireland. It's kind of a festival setting that we just need fun American young people to go over and hang out with Irish kids and have talks about their faith and that kind of thing. And so just a wide variety. We have everything from high level coaching to just kids sports camps that you can play duck, duck, goose and dodgeball. So everything in between.
Okay.
And of course, if anybody's got an extra $500 laying around, send it to us. I always need more money. Yeah. All of our staff raise their own support. So we are very lean and clean organization, and we just really know how to stretch a dollar and make it happen. So
the need for Ireland that you just mentioned, is that for the May trip?
No, it's for July, I think. It's called Summer Madness. Okay. On the trip list. It's a fest. Like last year, I think their musical guest was Lecrae. So it's that level of big deal. And there'll be thousands of youth. It's kind of like our passion conferences. a little bit like that. So, but more of a seeker friendly than a passion conference would be, I guess.
Okay. All right. Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day today.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was fun. I feel like I usually do this in front of a whole bunch of people. It's weird to just tell it to one person.
Well, I felt really honored, so thank you. I know you're busy keeping everything afloat and trying to keep my mom in line, so so thank you.
She has been a breath of fresh air around here. She's just so helpful and just wants to help everything be better. So it's really been cool having her around. My desk is clean. My life is in order. It's been a good start to our year this year. It's really looking to be a really, really good year for us this year.
So what you're saying is I should call her to come to my house.
She's pretty busy over here, so we'll have to call dibs.
Oh, well, thank you, Cheryl. I hope we get to chat again soon.
All right, no problem. Thank you.